Hey, it must be Thursday.
Man, it is Thursday, Rob. I'm Jason. We got Rob
And
here.
I'm Rob Patz. He didn't let me finish, but that's okay. Jason's so excited to tell me that he is better at fantasy football than I am, that he jumps my line.
I get to do that, Rob, because you know what? Last year I didn't get a lot of that. This year I do. You've already gave me a lot of hard times this year because of, the whole Ohio State, Texas thing, which our guests today are some Ohio State fans as well. But hey, fantasy football, we're in week 2, and I'm winning the championship.
You're winning. Is this going to be kind of like how you cheated in the game with the Denver Broncos, who tried to block that field goal there at the end? How'd that go for you guys?
Hey, that was okay. The kick right before that should have been called on them too, but it wasn't fair. It shouldn't have been called. The guy barely touched him. They missed the first field goal. Broncos should have won. We should be 2-0 with Broncos. Sorry. Are you leaving it there?
It's called cheating it's called cheating for a reason. Yeah. It's wrong. It's been wrong since you and I were kids. Come on.
I know, but still. Hey, we got to complain about something, Rob.
You know what? I'm going to say this, and I will probably regret this, because whenever I make bold predictions like this, it usually ends up biting me. So if you're a Kansas City fan, you can cheer right now, because I'm going to tell you this. They're cooked. They are. I have looked, and I don't know if Philadelphia last year ripped the soul right out of them, or the fact that Taylor Swift is marrying Travis Kelce or whatever. It's like they've lost their edge.
Well, the thing is, they don't have an identity on offense. Patrick Mahomes has thrown more deep balls than he has in a long time. They don't have the speed receiver. Hollywood Brown's supposed to be there, but he's not. He's not showing up. Xavier Worthy's quick, but they haven't shown up. And Travis Kelce is not the same guy. He is. I don't know if it's a distraction or older age. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I agree. I think they're cooked.
I think he's 30. I think Travis is 31. Is he around there?
I think he's 30, somewhere around there, early 30s. Yeah, but yeah, that's older for football.
For football, I can't even imagine. Can you imagine if played another? My body hurts the way it is. My body hurt in my late 20s, and I hadn't played in 10 years. You know
exactly. Yeah, no.
And so yeah, no.
So Rob, it's been a couple weeks since we've been on the show. There's been some very big things that have happened in these last 2 weeks, and we definitely want to acknowledge them. If you want to acknowledge that.
Goodness, it is a tough one to talk about, and for me, and I think anyone that is in media realizes that as Christians, it is a tough place to be in media. And Charlie Kirk handled that with such grace, and we are going to miss Charlie. It was hard to believe when I first got the news. Being very fortunate in the fact that I own a radio station, we were getting news alerts on my cell phone about it right as within minutes of it happening, as they were hitting breaking news. And it's incredibly difficult to talk about because of the fact that Charlie was not just a public figure. He was a dad, and he had 2 beautiful children.
Yeah.
And for those of us that have had the opportunity to be around Turning Point USA as an organization, we know that it was run with such class. And that is something that I think we'll know and really relate to Charlie for the rest of our lives. And as we talk about him, he was such a class person. If you watch, and I've gone down the rabbit hole of watching a ton of Charlie Kirk videos, and how respectful he was, and how he handled when people came up against him. And so, Jason and I have talked about this off air, and we just appreciate what Turning Point USA is doing, and really do feel. And I don't know about you, Jason, because we haven't talked about this, but I really feel like it's like a change in the atmosphere as to what has happened since.
Completely. I completely agree. Just the way that he spoke truth, and just seeing that change in so many people, and just like you said, feeling that change in the atmosphere and things. One really cool thing that I saw yesterday, because again, I went down the rabbit hole as well with you. He wanted 20,000, Turning Point chapters just since his passing. there's been 43,000 applications for new chapters, more than double what he wanted total, which is just incredible to see. His movement continue. Like it's incredible about how the enemy tries to use something like this, and God changes it and uses it for good. And we see this over and over and over. And I just see so many, good things coming out of this, out of such a tragic and sad things, because it hit all of us like that. It was like he was a family member, a close friend to so many of us, even though maybe I didn't know him, personally or so, but there's so many people out there that it hit that way.
And I think he was relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, he brought to light, and this is something that I've mentioned several times. I did a radio interview this week about this. Is Charlie Kirk went to a generation that no one listened to,
mm-hmm.
and he listened.
Yep.
But he didn't cave. He didn't go in and go, "Oh, you're right," and we should all have our safe space. He went in and with love said what he believed. And I think that is something that, as a generation of Christians that are out there doing work to tell people about Jesus, we should realize that and try to model everything we do after that.
Yep, completely agree. And one thing it's emboldened me to do is just speak out more. There's a lot of things that I've kept to myself and not really said, kind of how I felt on things, or because I didn't want to offend people or anything like that. But it wasn't about necessarily that. What I've really found out in the last week is it's more of just saying our truth. Our truth is Jesus. Our truth is the Bible, and really explaining that to people in a loving manner, because that's what he did. People thought he was contentious on things. No, it was just that he spoke the truth, and he spoke the truth out of love. Yes. When he talked about the different issues that people were coming up to him and talking about, he always spoke it with truth and love.
Yep. And with respect, and I think that's awesome. And so he will be greatly missed.
Yes.
But I will tell you this, for those that are discouraged, there is a generation of young people that are not going to let Charlie's voice die.
No. There's going to be so many people that pick up that microphone and step in, and they took him out, but I guarantee there's going to be thousands more that come because of this. And I'm so grateful for Charlie, for his wife Erica, and their the two kids. Like these are people that we pray for, me and my wife, every single night. Still, like every day, we're continually praying for them, continually praying for the movement, the truth, just getting that out there. Those are the biggest things, and that's what I would ask the audience to do, is just to pray.
Yep. Pray. Yeah, because you're friends, and I'm part of a couple of group texts, and I'm very fortunate, very blessed. One of those group texts is with a lot of Christian media leaders, and the biggest thing that we said is just to share with people that this is not the end. This is just the beginning, and that our hope comes in Jesus.
Completely. Yeah, and we know how this story ends, and that's where our hope is. That's where our truth is. Make sure that you're going to church, to a Bible believing church that speaks the Bible, that speaks the truth, and it's not afraid of that.
Yep. Oh, completely. I totally agree, and I'm sure in the coming weeks that Jason and I will talk more about Turning Point USA. I think they have so many cool things going on, and so we'll be talking about that in the coming weeks. And to transition without sounding callous, but I do have to shout out before we get to our guest today. Super proud of my niece, Sophia, Anthony Wayne, Generals, baby. The Generals, Lady Generals, did a fantastic job. NLL conference champions. They are headed to districts and then to the state. We're believing it. They made it last year to state. We believe they're going to do it again. This is Sophia's senior year. Super proud of her. I love just being around her. I will not play golf with her, but I love being around her. She is headed off to Taylor University next fall to be a part of their nationally ranked golf team. And so we're super excited for Sophia. And so, Lady Generals,
that is awesome, Rob.
You guys at states coming up. Well, they got to get through the districts, and I get that. And somebody's going to say something.
They'll get there.
They'll get. It's going to be easy.
They got it. They got this. Congratulations. That is amazing. That's awesome. I know we've talked about her off air quite a bit. And yeah, I definitely do not want to play golf with her.
I definitely not with her. She booms them. Yeah.
No,
And so,
maybe she could teach us some things.
so, one of the neat things, and kind of a tie into the story, as an only child, I had no nieces or nephews until I got married 4 years ago, and it just celebrated 4 years. So that kind of ties into our guest today.
It does. It does. Yeah. I've been married now going on 10 years. And as we started talking about this and started to meet our guests today, which we want to welcome Chris and Tara Borghese. I believe I'm saying that correctly. So please forgive me if I'm not. They're founders of Marriage Insights Institute with over 30 years of marriage and a decade coaching couples. They're on a mission to make holy matrimony heroic again using biblical truth and the DISC personality model. They help couples move from conflict to connection and build marriages that reflect the heart of God. Welcome to the show, Chris and Tara. Did I pronounce it correctly? I apologize if I did.
That's all right. It's a hard one. It's Borghese.
Borghese. You gotta throw the Italian in. Okay.
I can't take credit for that. I married into it. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. And Chris, we've talked about our barbers. We got a good one here. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a good one. We're follically challenged is what I'll say, Jason.
Exactly. Well,
hey, a good thing is that we're on Friday. We celebrate our 33rd anniversary.
Tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. Yeah, which will be live on the network here tomorrow. So happy early anniversary! That I didn't even know that. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I got to ask, what's the key? We got to start with that.
God.
Yeah, the God.
One word, God.
Yeah. Easy enough, right? That is so cool.
Living, breathing miracle, and our story is a lot like everyone else's story. Marriage isn't easy. We have our challenges, we have our ups and downs, and so that's really one of those things that God's brought us through. And so we'll dive into a little bit of how we ended up here, but so we're just thank you, Jason and Rob, for having us on here and being able to share what God's put on our heart, and for you creating this platform. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're again very glad to have you guys because our shows thrive with Rob and Jason. We talk about thriving life, faith, business. Marriage is such a big part of this. It's especially from a biblical perspective of this. So I wanted to get you guys on to talk about this because you guys have been in this space for so long, and I really want to get into that and like what inspired you to start the Marriage Insights Institute and why the bold vision to make holy matrimony heroic again.
That's a great question. Yeah, you want to start us out?
Well, you start us out, and I want to first say that God is paramount to be able to have a great marriage, but it's understanding. Like, how do you love? How do you understand? How do you respect? How do you honor? And it's through understanding. Because me and Tara are completely 100% opposite. I'm fast-paced. She's reserved. She's a thinker. I'm a feeler. We were 100% opposite, and this is where most couples like us got into trouble. Because we didn't understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So a little quick fact on that is 90% of couples marry their opposite personality style. When we heard that, we were like, that's a pretty big percentage.
That's huge. Yeah.
So it kind of helps you understand a little bit where a lot of conflict comes from. But to kind of backtrack to our story, we're both the last of 5 kids. We did not have good marriages modeled around us. As a matter of fact, in both of our families, we had 9 divorces surrounding us. And so we came in like, oh, we're not going to have our parents' marriage. We're going to do things differently. We didn't know how. We had good intentions. We had God. And but we slipped into those familiar patterns and almost wrecked our marriage at year 10. And then we got through that with God's grace and been on a 23-year journey to kind of crack that code. So I was a full-time stay-at-home mom. So when our 3rd child graduated, I kind of was out of a job. Like I got fired. I was no longer needed. So, and then Chris was feeling a calling from God to say, hey, God had blessed him in his corporate job. And so kind of like, what do we do now? And on our 25th wedding anniversary,
I get this.
Our 25th wedding anniversary, as we were celebrating and reflecting on the last 25 years and just telling God how good you are, the work you've done in us, the amazing children you've given us, just all the blessings. And one of our prayers was that, I would be able to be a full-time stay-at-home homeschool mom. That was what I wanted to do. And so God blessed his career. And we're looking back and you're like, God, you are so faithful. You gave us all the desires of our heart. And now moving forward into the next 25 years of our marriage, what is the desire of your heart? What's on your heart, God, that we can help fulfill? And sure enough, God said, marriages. Now, listen, we weren't drowning, but I wouldn't say we were thriving. And so when I heard that, I was like, wait, who, me? Are you talking to me? Are you sure?
Right? Yeah.
And so it's clearly that God does not call the qualified.
Mhm.
God qualifies the called. And so that was in 2019. And so we've been on that journey figuring out, God, what does this look like for us? How do we help, fulfill that desire?
Yeah, that's amazing. I've been lucky. We're going on 10 years of marriage, me and my wife now. And, my parents have been married for, I'm doing the math here, 52 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, 52 years. And my in-laws, they've been married for 44 years. So we've both come from places where, marriage come, but the Institute of Marriage is, man, it's being attacked consistently, right? We see all these statistics for divorce and everything else, but I love how you put it and how you made it. Your key is God. The communication aspect of this is always a big piece. And you guys use the DISC profile a lot. And I've been through the DISC profile myself. Maybe our audience doesn't know what the DISC profile is. So I'd like to start with that. And then I'd like to get into, okay, how do we use this now to help our communication, to help us with our marriages?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can handle that part of it. And, communication is big because a lot of people will communicate, but few people connect.
Completely.
Mm-hmm. Get that. Few people connect because we have to learn to become a we, not just a me and a you, but a we. In order to do that, you have to have proper communication. In order to have proper communication, what we've learned through the years is that we have to understand each other. We're different. We're a different people. We're different persons. And so I look at things from a different lens. I hear things from a different lens, and I see things from a different lens than her. And because of that, we're able to now understand, because of the DISC profile, we're able to understand how to do this.
Yeah. So how we ended up in the DISC model of human behavior and bringing it into the marriage. So many people use it. Most companies, very high, influential companies, most successful companies in the world run on DISC.
Yes.
And what DISC is over thousands of years, people way smarter than us determined, and they've observed that humans have 4 predictable patterns of behavior. And so D is that dominant behavior. I is inspiring. S stands for supportive and stable. C is for cautious. And so that's the acronym basically of DISC, D-I-S and C. But it is the model of human behavior. And the reason why it's so effective in companies is because you're trying to build relationships. You're trying to build effective teams. You're trying to be proactive. Because anybody who's successful in the world, especially in the business world, you have to be proactive. You can't live reactive.
Yes.
When you're living reactive, you just make decisions that aren't long-term. They may be good. They may not be good. And so you're kind of leaving things up. You're leaving your success up to chance. So Chris had used it at Verizon to build effective teams. So when God called us, so I like to debate. I'm a debater, and I think I negotiate with God, and he humors me. Obviously, he does not negotiate.
Yes.
And so, but this is kind of how my relationship goes. And I said, all right, God, I will do this. If this is what's on your heart and this is what you're calling me to. And my favorite character in the Bible is Moses. And I'm like, God, isn't there other people that are more qualified? I could do so many other things.
Why you?
Why me? Go get Aaron. He speaks better.
Yeah.
And so as in my negotiation, I said, I feel like there's something missing in the marriage space. Mm-hmm. There's something missing. There's a key. If you ever have one of those combination locks, maybe it's on your locker, your gym locker, going back to high school, middle school, you have to have 3 numbers. And so if you only have 2, it doesn't work. It won't open. And that's where I felt like we were stuck. It's like we're both believers. We believed in God. We believed the word of God. We were firm on our commitment that we said these vows till death do us part. So to me, those were the first two numbers we had. And we did love each other.
Yes.
But we could not get along. And so I was like, God, what is that third number? I'll do it. If you give me the third number, that's actually going to bring transformation, not just in our marriage, but every marriage. And do you know, within a week, we got introduced to our business partner, who is the world leader in communication, and he uses the DISC model of human behavior.
That's amazing.
And yeah, that was how it ended up happening.
That's so cool. Well, just for reference, I've done the DISC profiles all through business. You know, like you said, it's a big communication piece in business. I'm a very high D&I. And so when I went through this as well, that was the first thing that I actually thought about is I want my wife to go through this, because I want to be able to learn how she communicates, how I can hear her, because it's one thing to communicate, right, as we're talking to each other, but it's how the other person also hears it and interprets it, and making sure that they're felt heard. And when you understand the DISC side of this, it changes the game. So I am. This is awesome. I'm so happy that you guys have actually used this in the marriages piece of this. One thing is that I've talked to you guys, and I've dove into a lot of your stuff. You guys often talk about conflict being an opportunity for connection, because there's going to be conflict in marriage, right? How can couples practically reframe fights or tension into moments of growth?
Well, that's a great question. So, looking at obstacles, put this in your brain. The obstacles are opportunities. Always. So when you look and you reframe the obstacle in front of you, that it can be a good thing, that you're going to grow. The Bible says that iron sharpens iron. But what happens if you've ever seen that, even in a movie where they're sharpening a sword, sparks fly. And so we could look at all conflict as negative. How we respond to it. Conflict isn't good or bad. It just is. We're going to have conflict, because that's how we're going to grow. And so when we can look at the reason why God's put opposites together, so that we can fill in where our weaknesses. Let me give you an illustration on this. So have you ever seen the movie Rocky?
Oh yeah, of course.
Back in the 80s. Yeah. Okay. So we talk to a lot of young people, and they're like, no, I've never heard of it. We have to ask the question. So, Rocky, he's this high D, dominant, direct doer. He's going to conquer the world, win the championship, right? He's going to sacrifice. He's got goals in front of him. He loves challenges. So that's the high D personality. But ironically, he's dating Adrian. Adrian's very quiet, very supportive. She's a librarian. So there's a scene in the movie where Rocky is best friends with her brother. And so her brother asks him, Rocky, what do you see in Adrian? Like, why are you dating her? This just seems so odd. Like, she's so different than you. And Rocky says, well, we both got gaps. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, we both got gaps. See, I have gaps and she has gaps. And then together we fill each other's gaps. So we can realize that we're not going to agree. Understanding does not mean agreement. Understanding means learning how the other person operates. So that, and there's actually a study out there that says couples that go through conflict in a healthy manner actually have deeper intimacy and longer lasting relationships than people who avoid it.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. It's one of the foundational pieces of our marriage, if I'm being vulnerable on this, is when we first got together, we first started talking about marriage and stuff. We wanted to put some foundational pieces in of, okay, how, because there's going to be disagreements coming, but how do we fight fair? Like we want to put some non-negotiables in there and saying, hey, we're not going to push each other down. We're not going to degrade each other. We're not going to name call. None of those pieces. If one person starts to feel, like we're getting too vocal or too loud or we're getting scared, we vocalize that and we respect that and we step away for a second to be able to come back with love on that. And so there's some really cool pieces that we had those conversations before you get into the conflict pieces. And so that's how we've kind of worked it. Maybe that, I don't know if it's definitely helped us, I know, but I would love to learn more about what you're doing. I did put the QR code on the screen here, guys. This is a free gift that Chris and Tara are giving out. 52 ideas for date nights. So one every week. Guys, download this because we need this.
Yeah. The other thing that comes with that is what do you talk about on date nights?
Yeah, right.
Right. So we have, instead of your job or the kids or schedules or things like that, or sitting on your phone, not even talking. We've all been in the restaurant where we've seen couples. We actually witnessed this a few weeks back. This couple sat at dinner together and neither of them looked up from their phone except when the waitress came, the server came to their table.
Yeah, we see that all the time. It's
yeah, so there's date night questions also as an added bonus in here. Is once you get on the date,
to make
what
it
does that look like?
easy, to make it easy for the guys or the girls to be able to engage in a healthy conversation.
Yeah, right. It's amazing. I know you guys are married, like you said, you're going on 33 years tomorrow, which again, congratulations on that. I'd like you to throw out for our audience, like, what are 1 or 2 non-negotiables that are essential to a thriving God-centered marriage?
Well, the first one would be
one from each of you.
The first one would be commitment. You've got to get out of your mind, get out of this situation. We don't even say the D word. It's not even an option.
Exactly.
It's not even an option to say it. And so because of that, because of that commitment, that really helps us be able to communicate effectively. You want to give it a second one?
Yeah. Well, and the commitment serves as like a tight wire. That you've seen those acrobat acts where they walk across the tight rope. Underneath that is a net, and so you're free to. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Marriage is anything worth having is an uphill battle, right? Mm-hmm. Anything that's worth. If you're going to work out, you're going to have to stretch your muscles. If you're going to have resistance, and so it's worth it. It's worth it. And the commitment, the marriage covenant is that safety net. Like we can practice, what does this look like? And we can fall, we can pick each other up. And you've touched on it earlier, Rob, when you said, like, you're proactive. These are non-negotiables. These are our rules of engagement. Mm-hmm. When we get in the heat of the battle, you got to have these rules of engagement before you get there.
Exactly.
Not when you're in it.
Well, no, we got just a little bit more here, but what I would like to really talk about, our audience is out here. How can couples start taking action today, especially if they feel stuck or discouraged in their relationship? Like what's the first step in this? Maybe they're thinking about marriage. Maybe they're married for a long time. Like what do you think they would take over?
That's a good question. I would say have a conversation and realize, first thing, take 100% responsibility for where your part in the marriage. Too often couples want to say, well, if my husband changes, if he did this, if he did that, we'd be happy. But actually you have more power. We each have more power than we think. When we start to show up differently to the conversations and differently in our marriage, that gives our marriage a fighting chance. Don't wait for your spouse to change and do what they need to do. Do what you need to do and love them the way God would have you love them.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's huge. That's some big stuff right there, Rob.
Yeah. It is. It's awesome. Hey, out of the 52, give us one. Just give us a sneak peek of one of the 52 dates.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay. So have it. So in the 52 dates, you have different, whether you have a lot of money, whether you have little kids at home, whether you can afford a lot, a big, huge thing or nothing. There's something in there for everybody. And so one of the ones is like create an Italian night, right? Where you download an Italian recipe, you light some candles, you cook together, and you light some, candlelight and put on Frank Sinatra music. Okay. So make it a whole theme and do it together and participate together. And it doesn't have to be leaving and going out and getting a babysitter all the time.
Get the house.
They're simple.
That is
awesome. Awesome.
Hey guys, thanks for being with us on today's edition of Thrive.
Thanks Chris.
It's been a pleasure.
Oops, I got rid of him. Sorry. Got rid of him there. Hey, buddy, it has been great. Yeah, thank you. I feel better now. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is the story of my life. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in again, and go out and thrive.